all over the country, maybe there will be. People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator. Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be.
Hey. Welcome everybody to another live episode at that. Hopefully everybody had a good and safe and happy Christmas yesterday. Today is the 26th, and hopefully we can get through this pretty easily today because I'm still getting over this 30-day cold or 30-day cough thing. It started right before Christmas and knocked me out. I was in bed for 3 days and started upping my zinc, my vitamin C with rose hips. Garlic, Theraflu, elderberry, you name it. I threw everything at it, and this thing still kicked my butt until I decided to hit it off with a high dose of penicillin and some horse paste. And that seemed to help knock it out of my system. But now I still have this agonizing cough. So if I start coughing, I apologize. But yeah, that's why there hasn't been anything the last couple of days. Because as soon as I start talking, I want to start coughing. So today we're going to talk about membership fees and funding your private association, whether it's a ministry, a church, regular old-fashioned association, unincorporated association. And then I have a few questions out of Telegram group I'm going to answer and one out of the Facebook group. So there is I'm going to start coughing. There's a couple different things you got to be aware of when you're setting up or when you're dealing with your fees and funding your association. That depends on whether you are a free church, so you fall under the 508c1a. You're going to be automatically tax exempt based on the IRS tax code, as long as you meet I don't want to say all 14 points because it doesn't really say you have to meet all, but a majority of the 14 points that they outline to say, yes, you're operating as an actual church. And if you haven't gotten the PMA manifesto yet, you can go over to the pmamanifesto.com, get a copy of it there. It explains the 12 myths about associations, but then it also dives into the tax side of it more if you are running a free church, so to speak. So yes, the money that would come in from either donations or dues or what have you would be tax exempt, but then anything that is paid out, maybe you're paying yourself a small salary or something like that, depending on the state you're in, if that's allowed, then it would, you would be obligated for those tax liabilities. And as always, this does not constitute legal or tax advice. It's just one person's thoughts on the topic. So I'm kind of going to do this in a broad aspect. If you have certain questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I will be monitoring that. And we're also streaming on X today. So apparently now with Yardstream, we can get chats out of the video on X, but I'm really not on X. I was on there doing like real estate stuff, and I'm really not on there that much. So we'll see what happens if this spills over. But that being said, if you have let's just say a regular unincorporated association, most of the time, the ones that I set up are people that I've helped work with, even ours that we have here in Connecticut. We charge an annual due, and that due goes to help funding for other things. And we are not a tax exempt organization. We just don't have ever any money left over at the end of the year because either it all goes back into the association or we just didn't collect that much to begin with. So it all depends on how we're doing things and what kind of events we're doing and stuff like that, or classes. But that being said, if you have money coming in from dues, that's one way of collecting income to help, fund your association. You can do classes, you can do different events and that sort of thing. And again, check with your local area, talk to a CPA, but if you have money left over at the end of the year, it might be looked at as pass-through income for the trustees of the board of directors, the 2 or 3 or 4 people that are there. So that would get split, depending on how many people there are, get split that way. That would be considered profit. And then that would go to your individual taxes, so to speak. Now, again, that might be different in your area. So make sure you check with somebody or, do a little research on your end. I will be posting a publication. It's publication P557 from the IRS. You can download it yourself, but there's some sections that I highlighted that I thought were important. And we'll put that on East Coast PMA. So you can feel free to jump over there and download that and take a look at it. but it covers a lot of the tax exempt stuff. So if you are a tax exempt organization, you're currently running that way, you want to make sure you're following certain things. And one of the things that I want people to look at, because being a 508c1a is not one of the only ways to be tax exempt. You can be a social and recreational club, which is a 501c7, and be tax exempt. But there are some nuances to that. So, like one of the things is that no part of the organization's net earnings can inure to the benefit of any person having a personal or private interest in the activities of the organization. So that means if you're running a 501c7 and you're on the board of directors, the trustees, whatever, but you're set up as an unincorporated association, but you're using that tax exempt designation to be tax exempt, you cannot have any personal inurement from any profits left over. And then one of the other things too with that, it says in general, your club should be supported solely by membership fees, dues, and assessments. And then it goes on to that there are some exemptions to that. But again, read it. I don't want to try to regurgitate what the IRS says, because sometimes their stuff reads like radio, stereo instructions, putting stuff together. But this is why it's important to understand exactly what type of organization you're having set up, how the membership fees and funding works within that association that you have set up, because you want to make sure you're doing things properly. Now, if you're for profit, it's completely different. Like you could have money left over at the end of the year, like we do with our association, or maybe you have a profit left over and it gets split 2, 3, 4 ways between the board of directors or trustees or whoever's running everything, the day-to-day operations, that sort of thing. And when you're talking about like a or I should say a for-profit association, then that stuff, it's a little more forgiving, I guess. Sorry, my head's just all over the place. I'm having a hard time focusing today. I'm just focusing on not coughing right now is the biggest thing. So, if you have a for-profit association, then you can allocate how much money gets put back into your association. You can add that into your bylaws or your articles of organization if you wanted to. It could be recorded in the minutes of one of your meetings, and we could say, hey, 20% of anything that this association brings in through membership dues, classes that we hold, that sort of thing, that's going to get put back into the association, because maybe your association is community driven like ours, and you want to buy one of those Harvest Right freeze dryers and you want to get one of the bigger ones so your members can utilize that. You want to make sure that you outline how the funds and fees are going to be utilized. So again, with anything else like this stuff, it all depends on your association. But for the most part, the people that, like I said, I help, they bring in funds one way or another, and it's either going to be one membership due. So every year, like we have here, or maybe you do quarterly, or maybe you do bi-monthly, however you want to set it up, right? And then that money gets allocated to certain things. Maybe you're doing a fundraising, like we had a winter bazaar, or I'm sorry, Christmas bazaar, and we did, a fall festival a few years back. We've done different things where, okay, maybe we set up like I think we had a dessert and soup bar. So people could come in and they could shop and they could pick up a $5 bowl of chili with a piece of pie or whatever it is. And then those funds go back into the association. So it's kind of like you're doing two activities at once, but one's designated solely for what comes in through that avenue to the association. Or like what we've done at some things, we charge a one-day membership. So maybe you have a event going on and you have, I don't know, maybe it's a foraging class or a tincture class, and you have the guest speaker come in and you work it out that, hey, whatever he charges or she charges for that day's event, a portion of that goes to the association, and you would just record that as, funding to your association, and that would get allocated to go, whether it's to pay rent somewhere for a building or something along those lines. Now, one of the questions we did have in the Facebook group, and if you're not on Facebook, it's fairly active, jump in there, or the Telegram group. The links can be found in the description, pretty sure. But one question came from Karen. She said, how the club will pay for clubhouse improvements. And it was just basically kind of like, my question was, new week, new start, what's on your mind today? And she was basically asking, how will the club pay for improvements? Now, it's kind of the same way. So either you can allocate it in your meeting saying, hey, we need to raise, maybe, maybe it's not improving a clubhouse, or maybe it's buying a piece of land to put a clubhouse on, or a meeting house. And it's going to say, okay, well, we're going to do these activities, and this portion of the activities has to go to this general fund to purchase said property, make improvements. Maybe the building needs to get painted, so we need X amount of dollars for that. It's all going to be worked out in, the budgeting. Everybody loves the budget, but you can set up certain events to help bring in funds to cover that, or you could just do strict donations from your members, that sort of thing. So maybe you have a special assessment, kind of like a condo association. So, hey, our annual dues are $100, but there's going to be an extra $50 special assessment to help cover the improvement of the outside grounds and painting of the building, or maintenance if you have a building. Something along those lines. Not necessarily would be considered like a monthly cost, like rent or something like that, but like a long-term project. So maybe, like I said, you have the $100 a month, your annual dues or whatever it is, and then you add another 25, $50 on it, whatever it would make sense for you, depending on the task you're trying to cover. So, um, when it comes to, funding your association, it's really kind of unlimited to how you want to do it, as long as you're not breaking any laws, right? So if you want to have potlucks where, maybe that's not really a good example. Maybe it's more of like I hate to use the word bake sale, but something along those lines, like I was talking about with the winter bazaar, Christmas bazaar we were doing, we offered like soup and stuff like that where people could buy it. Maybe you're doing classes, maybe you are just doing some type of fundraising for your association. Now, if you do fall under the 508c1a and you are tax exempt, well, then, you could offer, if somebody does want to do a donation, kind of think of like your old PBS telethon things back in the days. Like if you're a Gen Xer like myself, you probably remember that, you buy a tote bag for $50. The tote bag's really only worth 25, but you're getting a receipt for a $25 donation. You could do something like that. But again, if you're not sure how that works, definitely pick up a copy of the PMA manifesto, because it really goes into that aspect of the 508c1a, the free churches, when it comes to issuing receipts and stuff like that, because the burden is going to fall on you to show that, yes, I am tax exempt because I am meeting these 14 requirements, or majority of them. Where we've seen some things fail is people say, yes, I'm tax exempt, and then they take all the money for personal endearment and they go buy beach houses, that sort of thing. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything on the up and up. And then you might have some people that say, hey, listen, I just enjoy, like we've had people say, hey, we enjoy what you're doing. We like what you're putting together as a community. We want to help support you. Here's $100, put it to some good use. So you'll have that, and they don't even want to write off. Some people don't even care about the write-off. They're more concerned about your cause and what you're looking to do and how you're looking to improve the society or the community around you. And again, it all depends on what type of association you have, right? If you don't have a community-based association, well, it might be a little bit different. If you have a hunting and foraging association where people are getting together to learn how to those life skills and do that certain thing, or maybe it's going to be, hey, we need to buy more targets to practice the bow and crossbow stuff for hunting or whatever, right? You don't kind of like limit yourself to a certain thing. Kind of try to think outside the box in order to bring in ways to fund your association. And again, like I said, unless you're a 501c7, you know, if you are trying to go that route, then it is going to be a little bit more specific on, how you can incur funds to cover your association. So those are just some of the ways that we've talked in the past about. I'm just trying to look through here for some questions out of the Telegram group. And let me just check the comments. Nothing so far, just a thumbs up. Appreciate that, lad. Again, when it comes to funding, these are the things that need to come up in your meetings when you're meeting with your board of directors, your trustees, whatever you want to call yourselves. That's going to be the time where you say, okay, we have, the new year's coming up. So maybe if you have an association, you meet with whoever's running it. Maybe you have an advisory board. Everybody gets together and say, okay, so for the next year, what are our short-term goals? What are our midterm goals? What are our long-term goals for the year? So maybe a long-term goal for the year is buying a parcel of land to farm for your association. whatever it is. That's just kind of where my head's at lately. So that's what I'm using as an example. So maybe it's getting something like that together. And then you say, okay, that's the long-term goal. So the midterm goal is going to be maybe raising $25,000 to buy a quarter acre, whatever it's going to be, or maybe it's going to be looking for a farm where you can rent some land and use that land to farm for your community, before you buy the parcel land. And then maybe that short-term goal would be, okay, what events do we need to have set up to bring in funds for our association outside of just the membership dues? What kind of classes can we offer? Who has certain life skills that we can hold classes on? Maybe it's something as simple as a chainsaw sharpening class, which really isn't that simple. If you really look into it, sharpening a chainsaw can be a pain, but maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's offering a nature course once a week through your association that somebody wants to head up and run. And then members pay a little extra to come to that, but that money gets allocated to the rental of the farmland and then some of it towards the purchase, or however you want to set it up. So coming into the new year, that's definitely something you want to start thinking of is, one, what are we going to charge for membership fees, right? And that's completely up to you. Some people charge $1, some people charge 120, some charge more. And then what going on, or continuing on that this new year in 2024, how are we going to fund our association to meet our goals and do certain things? And again, like I said, if you go over to East Coast PMA, I'm going to upload that IRS publication 557, and you can read through that. It has a whole bunch of different tax stuff. If you kind of want the down and dirty, get the PMA manifesto over at the pmamanifesto.com. And that goes into not only the myths, but it also goes into some of the tax exempt stuff. And again, really, unless, like I've said a couple times already, I'm kind of repeating myself just because my head's in like la la land right now with this cold, but I haven't coughed yet, so that's pretty good. That, unless you're a 501(c)(7), you're pretty much open to what you want to do to bring in funds for your association. And for us, we found that offering certain classes of interest, whether it's a preparedness class, a foraging class, we did a log mushroom group one time where everybody got together. They had their 3-foot sections of logs. We put in spores and everybody grew like shiitake mushrooms or lion's mane or whatever it was. So you could do that stuff. And then you can, open that up to maybe other freedom groups within your area and say, hey, listen, this is something that the association is doing. If you'd like to come out and check us out, come get a 1-day membership. It's, $50 for the day. That gets you a 1-day membership. It gets you your part of whatever it is you need. Maybe it's the mushrooms and the logs and stuff. So it gets you your spores, your log, and you get to hang out and connect with other freedom, liberty-minded people. So don't don't feel that if you have an association, you have to only fund it a certain way. There are other ways of doing it. And then when it comes to taxes, well, that's a whole nother ball of wax. So definitely check with a CPA in your area. And it does depend on how your association is set up. Now, one of the questions we have from the Telegram group is, all right, I'll hold on that. Let me just see what Kevin has here. All right, Kevin. So yeah, I will look for your email, and I'm sorry. So Kevin basically said that, I'll just throw it up here. I got nothing to hide. So we had talked, and basically, sometimes people fall through the cracks. I apologize for that. So what I will do is I will get you the information I said I was going to send you. Please, if you can, shoot me a message either on Telegram or to my cell phone, which is in the description. I will make sure I get that to you today. I've just been swamped and then moving. We've only been in the house a few months, so it's been a little chaotic, needless to say. So I do apologize for that. So I will make sure that gets rectified by today for you. Um, and then you can have the information that you need. So I do apologize for that. And I will look for you in Telegram. I'm not sure where we chatted. I talk to so many people on a daily basis, but yeah, I will get that straightened out. Thanks for reminding me. I do appreciate that. Now, for Steve on the Telegram group, he said, I'm a part of a small group looking to start an off grid acreage Is there a good way or the best way of setting up a property without being in the public? We plan to buy the land without a loan. Um, yeah. So, if you're not getting any funding or anything like that, then, it opens up a lot of opportunities to buy stuff, especially if you are going to do a cash deal. One, it makes it close a lot faster. Two, you don't have to worry about any due on sale clause should you change the name of who's on title and that sort of thing. And what I mean by that is, let's say you take this parcel land that you buy and you put it into a land trust, and then you have maybe you want to go out to Wyoming and get two anonymous LLCs and have one as the trustee and one as the beneficiary to really cloud who owns what. Makes it very difficult to find out who owns that piece of land. Depending on your lending institution, if you are not the direct beneficiary of that trust, sometimes they'll say that it will trigger the due on sale clause and they could call the loan due when that happens. So, I guess I need to know a little bit more about what you're looking to do with the off-grid acreage, whether you're looking to do like camping or what you're looking to do with the actual land itself. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason why you can't get a small group of people together. Kind of think of it like a GoFundMe type thing where everybody kind of pools their resources. I would really have something drawn up stating who owns what, how it's broken down, what, survivability. If, like, let's say one family puts in, let's say you have four families and everybody puts in, $25,000, and then family A passes and their successors can take their place, or what happens to that portion of the land? Who does it go to? So there's a lot to it. You want to make sure you really kind of think it through and don't just kind of half-ass it and buy it, with a group of people. Make sure everything's really detailed out, because even the best intentions can sometimes go south and go sideways, and then there's turmoil and there's issues. But um, if I were in your shoes buying some off-grid acreages, and you know, really not wanting it to be in the public eye. Well, first of all, if it's not controlled by the town, the state, the local government, it's not considered public land, so it's going to be private. And to shield who owns that, there's a couple different ways of doing it. You could hold title within a unincorporated business trust if you wanted to, which was very popular until LLCs came out, S corps, stuff like that. But they're still viable. You can still use them. For me, I would probably do it kind of like what we did here. I would, purchase the land. Maybe, I guess you could do it a couple different ways. You could say, okay, we're going to form, an anonymous LLC, put all the money in the LLC, have the LLC buy the property. That way, there, excuse me, you can designate within your LLC documents who which member of the LLC is entitled to what. So maybe you have four members and it's split all four ways. So each person gets a quarter of the company. That way, there, when you buy the land, it's not just one person buying it, it's the LLC, and then each beneficiary of that LLC or member of that LLC has certain rights to the land. That's one way of doing it. You could put all the money together in one person's name that you trust. That person can buy it, and then you could quit claim that deed to whatever type of entity you're going to use to hold it, whether it's an association, whether it's a land trust. I personally think for land trusts are a good viable option. That way, there, you could set up a irrevocable land trust if you wanted to, or revocable depending on your scenario or what you're looking to do, and then have the beneficiary be the association. Or, like in our case, we have the land trust set up for our homestead, and then we have a anonymous LLC that is the beneficiary. Excuse me. Man, when I start coughing, it just starts coming. So you could do it that way, you know, and then it's going to be pretty private. If somebody was to do a title search, let's say they want to come after, let's say you're a member of this association, or I'm sorry, let's back up. Let's say you and these four other people get together, you get into a fender bender, and they're like, well, we're going to sue you. Okay, great. So they see you have a house, and they see that, if you didn't put the land into a land trust and that sort of thing, that, hey, oh, you're also a, you know, a member of this LLC. So maybe we can come after your portion of the LLC or something along those lines, right? So I like trying to, do everything with different layers of defense. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Thank you for telling me to keep up the good work. I appreciate it. It's been a rough last couple days, but hopefully this cold goes away or this 30-day cough leaves pretty soon. So uh, let's just say, for me, you want to have defense in depth. You want to have multiple layers, kind of like an onion, so to speak, where you are protecting yourself. So when it comes to land and strictly land, for me, I like to use the land trust. I like to then cloud who owns stuff with using anonymous LLCs out of Wyoming. If you do a YouTube search or Google search, you'll see a lot of real estate investors do that. And a lot of real estate investors, when they buy a property, they might have one LLC that holds three properties. Then they have another LLC that holds another three properties, then another, and so on and so forth. Because if something happens in properties A, B, and C, and a lawsuit entails, it doesn't affect, um, you know, uh, E, F, and G or whatever, so you want to make sure that you're separating things, or you have, if you have multiple land, you don't maybe necessarily want it all under one hat, is what I should say, is probably the best way to put it. So what I would do if you're buying some property and you want to, you don't want it to be public, I would say, okay, buy the land, put it into a land trust, have the trustee of the land trust be a anonymous LLC, and then you could have the beneficiary being, your association if you wanted to have an unincorporated association set up, or another anonymous LLC out of Wyoming. And then maybe you have a rental agreement from that trustee. That LLC, anonymous LLC out of Wyoming, has a rental agreement to the association if you're going the association route. I'm not sure that really answers your question, but if I was looking at buying a piece of land, that's how I would do it. I would obscure who owns it as much as possible. And then again, that also, if you are in, Wyoming somewhere, and you're in the the flats where you buy 50 acres for $25,000 or whatever it is, because it's nothing but tumbleweeds. That's going to be different than if you're buying something here in Connecticut and you're right outside of where I am in Yukon, and there's a lot of nosy neighbors. So it just depends on where you're in. You could be in Texas, it could be completely different. So it is, I think, also geographically located. Geographical location has something also to do with it. It's not just, hey, I'm buying a piece of land, because it depends on where you're buying that land and then what you're looking to use that land for. So I'm just checking here. I don't think anything's showing up on X for questions. So I don't see anything over there. But again, today I just wanted to get on here. I spent a couple days, with the cold and everything, and this 30-day cough. So I just wanted to get on here because I had a few questions, like I said, about membership fees, and then funding your private association. And again, membership fees, like I said, it's going to come down to what you as a group or a board of directors gets together and says, hey, this is what we're going to charge. Because like we did it wrong when we first started. I think we kind of overcharged a little bit for our association. And then because we were charging such a large amount, we felt that there was a need for us to produce or provide all this stuff to our members. And then as we went along, we realized that, some members are going to come to a lot of stuff. Some members aren't going to come to anything. And then we never wanted anybody to feel like they couldn't afford a membership, with our community-based association. And then it's more of saying, okay, well, what are we going to do for, you know, um, uh, you know, uh, monthly activities, or what are we going to do for long-term goals? And we're still trying to figure some of that stuff out. I don't think it's ever going to be concrete. I think things constantly change, or new things come up, or things happen, and or opportunities present themselves, and you're like, hey, well, are we going to do this or are we not? So when it comes to membership fees, it's all going to be based on what your association is initially set up for, and then what they're going to be getting out of it. If you're having a health and wellness type thing, or holistic healthcare association, where people are learning to not depend on large pharmaceuticals, well then maybe you're offering monthly classes, so your membership fee might be a lot less, but you're charging for those classes. for that knowledge that you provide to your members. And then maybe they don't want to go to everything, and then maybe you have some stuff that's free. But when it comes to funding your association, I think keeping it simple is usually a little bit better. I mean, we've had pretty good success with doing smaller, um, hyper local type stuff where we did a silver bazaar one year with teaching vendors how to accept silver with Liberty Dollar. Our dollar keeps getting deflated. At every turn it looks like the government's trying to figure out one way to screw us with our currency just to push the CBDC and everything else. So having the Liberty Dollar Financial Association is amazing, because now we held this silver bazaar. People got set up with Liberty Dollar accounts, as we have a branch office or a regional office. Vendors learned how to take it as a form of payment, and it's just it's actually backed by a precious metal. So I just think that was kind of like a something that was unique. Not everybody really, not everybody's going to come to that, because not everybody cares about silver. But I think more of your um how do I want to put this? Not open-minded, but the more in tune of what's going on in reality around us are more inclined to say, yes, gold and silver is something that I need to have some of my wealth in. And it's just one way of doing it. So we did that. And oh, before I forget, if you guys are Liberty Dollar Financial Association members, the deadline to get your Transact card is coming up very shortly. I think it's the 31st. So I will put that in the show notes. I did not do that, or I'll make that a comment. But if you get a Transact card account, because Liberty Dollar and them are Transact card are working together to make that a debit card to use with your Liberty Dollar financial account, I think it's going to be huge, and it's going to save you $25 a year. You pay the one-time fee of $25, and you never have to pay the annual fee again. Having that will allow you to send members cash very quickly. So let's say I have my Liberty Dollar account, I put $25 of silver, or convert that to cash, fiat currency, onto my Transact card, and then another member, I need to send them cash because they don't want Liberty Dollar. I can send them the cash through the Transact card, just like PayPal or Cash App. So it's going to open up a lot of things. It's going to make things a lot more instantaneous instead of waiting 2 or 3 days or whatever. And I know that's been a goal for Wayne and Kathy, is getting their credit union up and running, into having a debit card attached. So if you are at the gas station, you need to get gas station doesn't want to take Liberty Dollar, then just convert it over real fast on the fly and use your Transact card. And then the backside of that, you get a $1 equivalent in Z-Bucks to use in the Transact store. So it's kind of like making your dollar go further. But anyways, I'll do another video on that. So that being said, don't limit yourself, is basically what I'm saying when it comes to funding your association. Rely on your members. You might have somebody that's a real good hunter. You might have somebody that's a good fisherman. Maybe you put together, you have a local lake you fish at. You say, hey, you know what? We're going to have a fishing expedition, pack a sandwich. We're going to meet at this time. I'm going to show you how to tie a fly and tie a lure or whatever, and then you can charge for that. And then part of that money can go to the guide who's facilitating the training. And then the other part of it goes to the association. So that's pretty much what I got for today. We're about 33 minutes in. I will be back on tomorrow. Not quite sure what we're going to be talking about yet, but I think it might be more of a preparedness thing. Oh, I am going to be putting up a post on East Coast PMA also for you Inner Circle members, and it's going to be a list of things that I think should be in your personal emergency kit or your IFAC kit to have for yourself, as I am trying to bring in a little bit of the preparedness world into what we're doing. Because again, like I've said, if you have an association, you're going to be building this community. People are going to be relying on each other, and to be able to bring some life-saving things to the table, or preparedness skills to the table to help your members, is going to be huge. This is just my way of doing it. It may not be the right way, but I'm pretty sure it's not the wrong way. And yeah, I'm going to start coughing here in a second. So thank you all for watching. I hope you had a great Christmas holiday, and I will see you on tomorrow's video. Peace.
All over the country, and maybe there will be. People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator. Enemies of